Shannon, I really appreciate you coming out. Great to see you.
Yep, good to see you.
As you know, I've stepped into this new HR director role.
Sure.
And it's just a lot of this stuff's new for me. And one of the first things that kind of came across my desk with one of the Insperity payrolls is this invoice reconciliation report.
Sure. Yep.
I'll be honest, first time I've ever seen it. I'm having trouble understanding what it is, and as I work with my teams and I try to help them understand and learn, I just wanted to have you come in and help me understand more about what invoice reconciliation report is and what these numbers represent. So I really appreciate you coming out.
Oh, absolutely. And again, these are the type of questions that you should ask me as your dedicated account executive. And any type of question as it relates to payroll, if it's HR services, I should be your go-to person.
Great. Okay.
So we're going to talk about the invoice reconciliation report today. And let me give you a little bit of history about the report and why it was created.
Okay.
So this report was created about 7 years ago because before that we had transparency reports that would break out taxes and benefits and it would show an administration fee. But as we started bringing on more larger businesses, more complex type of organizations like yourself, we noticed that the needs changed, okay? Not only did they want to see an administration fee that we were charging them, but they thought that it would be important to know where we're spending those dollars internally within our organization.
Okay.
So the creation of this report allows us to do that. So this report is going to show you not only what you're paying for in tax allocations and benefit allocations and workers' comp allocations and in administration fees, but it's going to show you where we're spending each and every dollar that you do pay us.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, this is going to be really helpful for me because every time I sit in front of our CFO or controller, they're asking me for details, they're asking me for, transparency, and they want to see where all these funds are going. So I'm really looking forward to kind of walking through this report and understanding what you're describing.
Yeah, and it's going to be great for you because not only will you be able to see this report on a payroll to payroll basis, but if you ever do need or someone in your organization needs to run the report for prior payrolls, for instance, they can go back through the Premier site and be able to run those reports based on year to date, for a quarter, however type of format that you need it would be available to be able to run this report.
Because one of the questions I had is how often do I see this? How often do I get it? What you're saying is I'm going to get one of these reports along with each of my payrolls.
Every single time you process a payroll, whether it be with a regular payroll, a bonus payroll, additional payroll, any type of payroll that you process, you will have this level of transparency available to you.
Now, let me ask you, I think one of my teammates gave me this report. I don't think I have access to this report. How do I get access to this report?
Yeah, there's certain, obviously as you can see on here, there's some salary information on here. So we need to make sure that you go through the vetting process to make sure that you are authorized to receive salary information, because obviously we don't want salary information getting into the wrong hands. So once you're approved to have access to salary information, we'll really flip a switch on our side, and then this report would be available to you.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you look at this invoice reconciliation report, you'll see it's on the left-hand side, and really I'm going to try to work my way from left to right on this document to try to make it a little bit simple for you. Okay. So as you can see, the first category is the employee name. So on this report, we want to make sure that you see each and every employee's name so that you can see the overhead and the salary that relates to each and every person.
Okay.
So the first category is gross pay. Gross pay is pretty self-explanatory. It's what you're paying your staff and your employees. Okay. This would include regular pay, overtime pay, any kind of commission pay, bonus pay. All of that pay is put into that one category called gross pay.
Okay. All right.
The next category is payroll taxes. So payroll taxes are going to be the allocations related to FICA, FUTA, and SUTA. So these are going to be taxes that a company would have with or without Insperity.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Now what you will see on payroll taxes is that generally in January, February, those numbers are going to be higher than they are in March, April, June, and then later on in the year.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, because taxes are based off of a particular wage limit. So once an employee reaches a wage limit, that particular tax goes away or goes to zero. So that you'll see that generally in January, February, the tax numbers are higher. As employees are reaching certain wage limits, those numbers start dropping down.
Oh,
so you'll
okay.
be able to notice that when you're looking at this report.
So if I were to look at this on an employee basis, does this amount under the payroll tax column, would that tie to the amount being withheld on their paycheck?
Well, this is actually employer-related taxes.
Okay.
So the employee has their own share of taxes.
Okay, so this
Okay.
is just the employer
This
portion.
is just the employer portion.
Okay,
That's correct.
that's good to know.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
employees have to pay a lot of different other types of taxes, income taxes in certain states, even city taxes in certain areas of the country.
Okay.
This is strictly the employer side.
Oh, okay, that's
the
helpful.
tax.
All right, that's helpful.
So the next category that we're going to talk about is the payroll administration area.
Okay.
So we actually charge your account a total allocation, and then this report actually will break that number out into the various administration portions of our fee.
Okay, all right.
So we start off with a total admin number, and then we will break that number down into different categories, and then we're going to talk about those. And the first one would be the payroll admin number.
Okay.
So the payroll admin for this particular payroll would be about $13.35, as you can see on here, for each employee, and this is what the cost would be on this particular payroll.
Okay.
Okay. Payroll admin would cover costs associated with us providing payroll services, accounting, finance, things such as that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Now the next category is workers' comp and EPLI. Okay, that is not an admin fee. That is actually a benefit that we provide all of our customers.
Okay.
Workers' comp is pretty self-explanatory. EPLI is employer practice liability insurance. So that's a $1 million policy that protects the company's assets in case there's a lawsuit filed for harassment, discrimination, wrongful termination, things such as that.
So is that where we would be covered if, for example, we have a wrongful termination case and an ex-employee files a claim against us and judgment's ruled in their favor, this would help us there?
That's correct. Yeah, this would cover up to $1 million per occurrence. Okay, you would just have a deductible to pay as the liability there. The deductible would vary depending on which state that you're in.
So given that we're in Texas, how much would my deductible be?
So as it stands today, the deductible in Texas is about $25,000.
Okay.
Okay. If you do have a claim that's in California, the California deductible is $50,000.
So that would be my max out of pocket if something happens.
Depending on the claim, if you get a $10 million claim against you, this policy only covers $1 million.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Let's just hope you don't have a claim of $10 million.
Let's hope we don't.
So the workers' comp cost actually does vary, as you can see on this document. And the reason that it does vary by employee is because some of the costs associated with workers' comp depends on what workers' comp code a particular person is in.
Okay.
So if you have an employee that's in an 8810 code, which is a clerical type position, it's going to be less expensive per payroll or per gross pay versus a person that's working in your warehouse.
Okay. Yeah, that's
their risk of having an injury is higher. Therefore, the cost in workers' comp is a little bit higher.
Okay.
The next area that we're going to talk about is the administration portion for that workers' compensation type of services that we provide. So workers' compensation, admin, and safety, that cost is about $3.29 per employee per payroll.
Huh. Now safety, no one here at the company has told me that Insperity provides safety services. So what exactly are we paying for there?
Okay, so in that workers' comp administration and safety area, it includes the estimated cost of services to provide the workers' comp support. So this would cover the folks in our workers' comp department, as well as a dedicated safety consultant that would be assigned to your account. Now that safety consultant is there to really help set up any type of safety programs, help you with any kind of OSHA audits, things such as that.
Okay.
So
great.
If you have not had a chance to meet that person, I'll be happy to set that introduction up so that you could meet
Yeah,
him.
I would love that. That'd be awesome.
Okay, so the next category is benefits. Okay, benefits, this category would cover the company's cost of providing the major medical, dental, vision, life insurance, accidental death, short-term disability, long-term disability, education reimbursement.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So all of those costs related to those benefits would fall under that benefits column.
Okay. Education reimbursement. Wasn't aware we even offered that.
Yeah, certain packages that we offer include the education reimbursement benefit, which basically is a reimbursement coverage for an employee that wants to take a job-related type of course, or if they want to have continuing education through college, they can certainly go out and have some of those costs covered under this particular benefit.
Okay, all right.
As you can see on here, the numbers vary from person to person. The reason for that is you have certain people that do have insurance, certain people that don't have insurance. You might have people that have different types of insurances.
Okay.
One may take one plan, one may take a different plan, one may cover a spouse, one may cover a family. All of those obviously will change the cost related to benefits.
And again, this is just our employer portion of those costs?
This is just the employer portion of those allocations costs, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So now, let me ask you, is this, for these folks that are obviously enrolled in benefits, does this amount that I see here, does this represent the premium I'm paying for those folks?
No, actually it represents an allocation that we built into your comprehensive service fee. Because your organization is not the plan sponsor, you're not the policy holder for that insurance program.
Okay.
Insperity actually is the policy holder. We are the plan sponsor for every single one of those benefits that I talked about before.
Okay.
So we pay the premiums, we allocate an allocation, and that's what our customers pay.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Thank you.
The next category is back to the administration portion of our fee, which is a benefit administration charge. So $8.58 is the cost associated with the benefits admin. Okay. This would cover the cost associated with the folks that work in our benefits department, that actually are out there managing all of those programs that we just talked about, negotiating contracts with those vendors. And there's also a cost associated with the folks that work in our benefit call center that helps an employee if they have a question about a claim or about what is covered under their benefit program. They have a person that they can pick up the phone and call from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time to get those questions answered.
That's awesome. Great.
So the next area that I'm going to talk about today with you is the HR technology area. Okay, this is another administration portion of our comprehensive service fee. And based on this particular payroll, that cost is about $15.72 a month.
Okay.
HR technology would cover the costs associated with our HRIS program, which is Premier, which is really where these reports and other types of payroll reports come from. So this is where you would have access to that. Your employees would have access to their 401k information, their paycheck information. They can actually take online training courses through that platform.
Oh, okay.
So again, this is really the cost associated with those programs.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. The next area is the HR compliance. So this is another portion of the administration fee that we charge, and it's $20.24 per payroll per employee, as you can see on here.
Yep.
This would cover the costs associated with the folks that keep you and our other customers out of trouble. So this would be legal, compliance, EEO group, our Section 125 non-discrimination testing group. So these are the individuals that really manage that risk area and keeps our clients and keeps.
So these are the
Insperity
good
out of
guys.
trouble. These are the good guys.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
The next area that we're going to talk about is HR services. This is another portion of the administration total, and it's $9.88 on this particular payroll per person. HR services would include the costs associated with myself and all of the service support staff that assists you and your worksite employees.
Wow, so I was wondering where you were going to hit me up for your costs here.
That's right. Yeah, it should be twice as much as that, but
Well, we can negotiate that at renewal, right?
That's right. Absolutely. The next area that we're going to talk about is co-employment risk. So co-employment risk is not an admin fee. It's not a benefit, actually. It is an allocation that we built into our model to cover the what-if events that happen in our partnership. Okay, there are certain risks that we take over when we bring on a customer under co-employment, and really the three primary risks are going to be broken out into this way. And I'm going to start with the smallest risk that we have and work my way up to the largest risk that we have. Okay. So when we sign a customer on to Insperity, we actually become liable for certain things. We become responsible for certain things. One of those things has to do with workers' compensation. Okay, that is our lowest risk that we really take over when we sign up a customer. And the reason for that is that we take over the risk of having to pay the claims. Okay, now you're familiar with how self-insurance works and how fully insured plans work?
I am. I'm a little more familiar with the fully insured, but maybe if you could help me understand self-insured a little bit.
Okay. So under a fully insured program, the insurance carrier would be liable for paying the claims.
Okay.
So if they charge a customer $50,000 in a premium, but they have a claim of $100,000, that's going to be on that insurance carrier's shoulders, and that's their responsibility and liability that they have to pay.
Okay.
So they can't go back after the customer and say, hey, your claims exceed the premiums that you paid. Here's a bill.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So that's sort of how that the fully insured program works.
Okay.
All of that claims liability falls on the carrier.
Okay.
The self-insured program's a lot different than that. That liability of paying the claims actually falls on the shoulders of the policyholder. In this case, it would be Insperity. We manage the workers' comp in a way that those claims are being paid for by us.
Okay.
Okay. So if we charge a certain allocation to a customer, that is the amount that they have to pay us. We're not going to go back after them if they have a potential high claim that comes through. They're only responsible for the allocation that we've set forth on the renewal.
So if we are, let's say our allocation is $50,000, but we have a claim come in for $100,000, what you're describing is a situation where Insperity would then bear that extra $50,000. You guys would take care of that.
That's correct, and that's why we built this allocation into our model, to cover the exposure that we have in that workers' comp area.
Now you mentioned workers' comp was the lowest of the three risks. Why is it the lowest?
Yeah, mainly because, like you and most of your worksite employees, they work in an office environment where the chance of having a catastrophic type of injury on the job is very small. So our chances and likelihood of having a very, very high workers' comp claim filed and that we have to pay for is pretty small.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So the second risk that we take over has to do with employment-related risk. When we sign a customer on co-employment, we actually become the employer of record. And as the employer of record, you do assume certain types of risk and liabilities there. Okay, there could be risk associated with EEO type of claims that happen. There could be risk related to some financial defaults of that particular customer. All of those things fall on our shoulders when we become the employer of record.
I got it. The question I have for you on that is, if we backtrack a couple of steps, we talked about this EPLI insurance, right?
Right.
How is EPLI insurance and co-risk, what you're talking about, employment related, how are those different? Because to me it seems as though maybe I'm being charged twice.
Okay.
Help me understand
That's
that.
a good question. So there could be a little bit of overlap there, but generally an EPLI claim is going to be covered under the insurance that you have. Okay. We do have some EPLI coverage that protects Insperity, but generally, if there's an EPLI claim, you're going to be responsible for your portion of that claim or that file.
Okay.
So under co-risk, there could be some potential liabilities, for instance, on a wage claim that might not be covered under EPLI.
Right.
Okay. We still have to cover that risk as it relates to those types of things. It could be a class action type of lawsuit filed on behalf of several claimants, and in those cases, it's not going to be covered under EPLI. It would need to be covered under that co-employment risk allocation.
I see. Okay. All right. So EPLI really is covering me or my organization. Co-employment risk is really covering Insperity.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
And then the highest risk that we cover in our partnership with our customers has to do with the medical related risk. Like workers' comp, we do self-insure. We manage our medical program like it's a self-insured program.
Okay.
So we take over a significant risk in that area, because having someone with a serious ongoing type of condition or even a shock loss type of claim, it could happen to anyone in any state, in any business, at any time. Mm-hmm. So we know that risk is out there, and we know that that's going to pop up from time to time. So this co-risk allocation allows us to accept that risk and exposure over with all of our customers across the country.
Now, let me ask you then, if this, let's say, so as you're taking a look at our company's risks, and depending on how our experience plays out over the course of our relationship, is this something that can change? Is this an amount that you guys go back and look and say, okay, this needs adjusted? If so, how often? Or walk me through that process.
Yeah, every account goes through an annual review, and during that review, there is a risk assessment done. And we evaluate the different types of risk and exposure that we have within our partnership. Is there high workers' comp utilization? Is there high medical utilization? Are there a lot of EEO type of claims sitting out there that we need to be concerned about?
Okay.
So we do a risk assessment on an annual basis and determine whether or not that number needs to move.
Oh, okay.
But generally speaking, it pretty much stays the same.
Okay. But if we were going to adjust it, it would be once a year or something
That's
like
right.
that?
It'd be
Okay.
once a year at renewal.
Okay, great.
The last area that we're going to talk about here in terms of your overhead costs have to do with the markup on your account. So we start off charging each of our customers with a total admin number, okay? And then we actually, if we back out the cost associated with payroll administration, HR services, workers' comp administration and safety, HR technology, HR compliance, once you back those numbers out of that total administration number, what is left over is what we would call our estimated markup on your account. And that works out to be about $6.44 per payroll per employee.
So this is where you guys are making your money, right? So you're saying this is the profit you're making each payroll on each employee?
Well, this is an estimate based on the segment that you're in and based on the administration fees that we've agreed to with your organization.
Okay.
Does that mean that that this is a factual number, the actual number that we make? May or may not be the right number, because there are a lot of different factors that come into the profitability that we have on each and every account.
All right. So if I'm a heavy utilizer of HR services, your actual profitability might be less than this?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yep.
I got you.
Yep. This
That
is
makes
all
sense.
just an average estimate overhead and markup that we have on your account.
Okay, great.
Okay. The next category is the comprehensive service fee, and really all that is the total overhead on a per employee per payroll basis. So if you were to add payroll taxes all the way over to the markup category, which you don't have to do, this does it for you.
Yeah.
But you would get the markup or a total of $530.78 on that first employee that you see there.
I gotcha. Okay.
So that is strictly just the total of the other columns that we just
Okay.
talked about.
Right. And then what is that service fee percentage next to that? What's that mean?
So the service fee percentage category represents the number that is it's strictly just math.
Okay.
So what that number, how that number is calculated, it takes the 530.78 on your first employee listed here, and it divides it back into the gross pay to get a percentage of gross pay.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that basically it says that 19.58% is a calculation of taking 530.78 divided into $2,710.93.
I gotcha. Okay.
The interesting thing about the service fee percentage is that's the number that you will actually see on a payroll invoice that you also receive with Insperity on the Premier site.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So the payroll invoice will just show you the employee's name. It'll show you what workers' comp code that person is, what state they're in, what their salary is on that particular payroll or their gross pay. And then it'll show you this percentage, this overhead percentage.
Okay.
What this report does is it takes that percentage and it breaks it out for you.
All right. That's great. Wow, this is really helpful. Let me ask you a question. Who do I contact if throughout the year I see something on here and just a number, it doesn't make sense, it jumps out at me, I mean, I'm confused. Who do I call or who do I reach out to for that?
Yep, it could be the first, your first call should be to your payroll team. They can certainly handle a lot of the types of questions that you have. If there's an escalation to that, they certainly know the folks that they need to get it escalated to make sure that you get your questions answered.
Okay, that's good, great.
Yep.
Is there something that you guys have that I could use throughout the year? Is there any kind of form or guide or something that I can walk through this and as a reference tool?
Yeah, there is a guide that actually goes into the description of each of those categories that we just talked about. I'll make sure that we get that guide sent over to you so that you can have access to it and use it as a tool throughout the year. And if you have additional folks that are going to be that gain access to this report, you can certainly share that document with them.
Great. Shannon, I really appreciate it. You know, this is this report is very comprehensive. It's very transparent, and it certainly helps me in HR understand kind of where, you know, how we're spending our money. So I really appreciate you coming out.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yep.